When you stop caring, life gets easier because caring too much about the wrong things is exactly what's been breaking you down. Think about how much of your energy you've wasted trying to please people who wouldn't even lift a finger for you. How many nights you've stayed awake replaying conversations that mean nothing to the world. How often you've bent yourself out of shape just to avoid being judged by people who don't even matter. The truth is, the weight crushing you isn't life. It's your obsession with controlling what you can't control. The day you decide to stop caring about their opinions, their approval, their fake standards, is the day you'll breathe again. Freedom isn't found in more money or fame. It's found in the ability to walk away, to laugh at criticism, to stop begging for validation. When you stop caring, you stop living in chains. Suddenly, rejection doesn't sting. Failure doesn't destroy you. Judgment doesn't scare you. It fuels you. Life gets easier because you finally realize your only battle is with yourself, not the world. And that realization is where power begins. Caring too much about what others think is the fastest way to destroy yourself. It eats away at your strength, your confidence, and your potential without you even realizing it. Every time you hesitate because you're worried someone will laugh, every time you hold back because you're scared someone will talk behind your back, every time you hide who you really are just to blend in, you give away your power. You hand it over to people who probably don't even care about you. Think about it. How many decisions in your life have been shaped not by what you truly wanted, but by the invisible weight of opinions that had nothing to do with your happiness? You dressed a certain way because of what people might say. You stayed quiet when you should have spoken up because you didn't want to be judged. You played small when you could have gone big because you feared someone would mock you. Our ambition. That hesitation, that need for approval, is a prison, and most people are living their whole lives locked inside of it. The truth is, other people's opinions don't define you, but when you let them control you, they might as well own you. They don't pay your bills, they don't live in your skin, they don't fight your battles, yet you let them dictate your choices. Isn't it insane that you'd rather disappoint yourself than risk disappointing strangers? You'd rather suffocate your dreams than face a few whispers, a little gossip, a few raised eyebrows. That's weakness, and life has no mercy for weakness. The world respects people who walk with certainty, people who refuse to bend their backs for approval. The moment you stop caring, you become untouchable. The insults bounce off, the judgment becomes background noise. You move with a force that can't be stopped because you've reclaimed the energy you once wasted on worrying about what doesn't matter. Imagine the hours, the days, the years you've lost to replaying conversations, imagining what people think, chasing likes, begging for validation. What if all of that energy had gone into building yourself, sharpening your skills, growing your character? You'd be unstoppable by now. But here's the good news. It's not too late. You can cut that chain right now. You can decide that their voices no longer carry weight in your life. You can decide that the only opinion that truly matters is the one you have of yourself. When you do that, something incredible happens. You start to act boldly. You take risks you used to avoid. You walk taller. You speak with conviction. And the irony is, the less you care about being liked, the more people respect you. Because people sense strength. They can feel when you don't need their approval, and they're drawn to it. Caring too much is weakness, but not caring, that's power. That's freedom. You're no longer tied to the crowd. You no longer let the sheep tell the lion how to roar. Why? Stop living a life of compromise and start living a life of authenticity. And make no mistake, the world doesn't reward the fake. It doesn't reward the safe. It rewards the bold, the fearless, the unapologetic. If you want to rise, you have to break free from the addiction of pleasing people. You have to stop trying to fit into their expectations and build your own. Don't let their laughter discourage you. Don't let their doubts poison you. Let them talk. Let them point. Let them judge. At the end of the day, their words won't matter, but your actions will. Your results will. Your life will. You will never find happiness, peace, or power while chained to the fear of judgment. But the second you stop caring, the second you break free, you step into a new reality where everything becomes possible. Because now your energy is yours again. Your focus is yours. Your power is yours. And with that, nothing can stand in your way. Detachment is not about being cold or heartless. It's about free. When you detach, you stop letting the chaos of life own you. You stop being a slave to outcomes, to possessions, to people's behavior. Detachment is strength because it means your peace cannot be stolen. Most people are walking around chained to everything they cannot control. They're tied to money, to relationships, to status, to praise. And because of that, they live in fear of losing it all, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being left behind. That fear poisons the mind and crushes the spirit. But the moment you learn detachment, the moment you realize you can walk away from anything and still be whole, you become unstoppable. You own yourself. You own your soul. Think about it. How many times has your mood been destroyed because someone didn't treat you the way you expected? How many times have you been paralyzed by the thought of losing money, losing love, losing face? That's not freedom. That's weakness disguised as caring. True freedom is when you can say, take it all away and I'll still stand, I'll still breathe, I'll still be me. Detachment gives you that fire. It takes away the desperation that makes you chase things you don't need and people who don't deserve you. It clears your mind so you can focus only on what matters, on what you can control, your effort, your discipline, your mindset. When you live detached, you're no longer a puppet pulled by the strings of the world. Success doesn't inflate you. Failure doesn't break you. Praise doesn't blind you. Criticism doesn't weaken you. You take it all in, but you don't let any of it define you. And that's when you become dangerous because the world has nothing to hold against you. They can't manipulate you with rewards. They can't control you with threats. You move with a calm that nothing can shake, and that calm is more powerful than any storm. Detachment doesn't mean you stop loving, working, or dreaming. It means you stop clinging. You stop attaching your worth to outcomes you cannot control. You can love someone deeply, but if they leave, you still stand. You can give everything to your work, but if you fail, you still rise. You can dream big, but if it doesn't go as planned, you don't collapse. That is real strength because you are rooted in yourself, not in what the world gives or takes. Most people will never experience this. They will spend their lives chasing approval, begging for attention, clinging to possessions, terrified of being alone. And that's why they stay weak. But you can break free. You can detach. You can choose to live above the noise, above the fear. And once you do, your spirit becomes unshakable. Suddenly, stress rolls off your back. Anxiety loses its grip. You stop drowning in what ifs and start thriving in what is. You stop fighting to control everything and start focusing on controlling yourself. And that is where real mastery begins. Detachment strengthens your spirit because it teaches you endurance. You stop falling apart. Every time life doesn't go your way, you develop resilience. You develop courage. You develop the ability to keep moving forward no matter what you lose. Imagine a warrior on the battlefield. If his strength depends on keeping every weapon, every shield, every piece of armor, he'll fall apart when something is stripped from him. But if his strength is inside, if he knows he can fight with or without, then he becomes unbeatable. That's what detachment does for you. It makes you unbreakable. Your mind clears when you detach because suddenly it's not cluttered with fears and what ifs. You see reality for what it is, not what you wish it to be. You stop living in illusions and start living in truth. And truth is the foundation of real power. You can't be manipulated. You can't be lied to. You can't be tricked by your own emotions. You act with clarity, not desperation. You act with wisdom, not panic. And here's the ultimate beauty. When you detach, you don't lose passion. You amplify it. Because now you're not driven by fear of loss, but by love of growth. You're not weighed down by chains. You're lifted by freedom. You work harder. You love deeper. You live bolder because you know nothing owns you. And when nothing owns you, you own yourself completely. That's why detachment frees your mind and strengthens your spirit, because the less you cling, the more you soar. The less you depend, the more powerful you become. Life stops being a constant fight against loss and becomes a journey of strength, peace, and unstoppable freedom. Rejection and failure are nothing but illusions of power over you, and they only sting as long as you let them. Most people spend their lives terrified of being rejected, terrified of failing, terrified of stepping into the arena because somewhere deep down they've convinced themselves that the world's opinion defines their worth. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Rejection is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of someone else's limitations. Failure is not a verdict on your abilities. It's just the tuition you pay on the road to mastery. The moment you stop caring about how people see you, the moment you stop giving their judgment any weight, that sting disappears. Suddenly, rejection becomes a stepping stone. Failure becomes a lesson, and every no and every fall becomes fuel for the fire inside you. Think about it. How many people have been crushed, paralyzed, or defeated simply because they cared too much about being liked, being accepted, being safe? They let rejection hit them like a hammer because they tied their self-worth to someone else's approval. They let failure consume them because they believe the world's opinion was the final word. That's weakness. That's surrender disguised as sensitivity. But when you stop caring, you start living untouchable. The criticism no longer matters. The closed doors no longer hurt. And the failures no longer define your trajectory. You begin to see them for what they really are. Temporary obstacles, opportunities to grow, and proof that you are actually moving forward while others stand frozen in fear. When you embrace the fact that rejection and failure are inevitable, you stop fearing them. You stop shrinking. You stop holding yourself back because of what could go wrong or what people might say. The moment you stop caring about the sting, you step into a world of freedom where every experience, every risk, every challenge becomes fuel for your evolution. Every failed attempt, every no you hear, every door slammed in your face becomes data, not defeat. It's information. It's clarity. It's the universe telling you what doesn't work so you can find what does. That is power. That is liberation. Failure and rejection lose their sting because they no longer control your emotions. You stop living on the world's terms. You stop seeking validation or permission. When you stop caring, your self-worth becomes unshakable. You start measuring suck. That's by your own growth, by your own courage, by your own effort, not by accolades, not by applause, not by the temporary judgment of others. And that's when life changes. That's when you realize nothing can touch you unless you let it. That's when you start moving boldly because fear no longer dictates your decisions. Every failure now becomes a rehearsal for victory. Every rejection becomes a signal that you're on the right path because the people who say no often have no idea what greatness looks like. Imagine the difference between someone who cares deeply about rejection and failure and someone who doesn't. The first person freezes, hesitates, second guesses, and hides. They shrink to avoid being hurt. They avoid risk to avoid embarrassment. They stop themselves from growing, from exploring, from achieving. But the second person, they move with purpose. They act with confidence. They experiment, they fail, they get rejected, and none of it shakes them. They are relentless. They are unstoppable. They are free. And the irony is that they often succeed far beyond anyone's expectations precisely because they are not constrained by fear or the need for approval. When you stop caring, rejection and failure become allies, not enemies. They become mirrors, showing you where to adjust, where to improve, and where to pivot. They become teachers, guiding you without the emotional poison that comes from caring too much. You learn faster, act faster, and rise higher, while everyone else is still quivering in the shadow of what others think. The sting disappears because you have chosen to live above it, to live untethered by opinion or judgment, to live by your own rules. And that choice is everything. The people who never take risks, who never face rejection, who never fail, are not lucky. They are weak. They are terrified of life, terrified of being judged, terrified of looking foolish. And that fear keeps them small, keeps them invisible, keeps them average. But when you stop caring, you break free. You embrace risk. You embrace the possibility of failure. You embrace rejection as proof that you are in the game, that you are playing on a level most people never dare to enter. And that embrace transforms weakness into strength, fear into fuel, and pain into power. Ultimately, rejection and failure lose their sting because they no longer have dominion over your mind. You stop reacting to them emotionally. You stop giving them energy. You stop allowing them to shape your self-image. You continue, you push forward, you grow, and you thrive. And the more you practice this, the more invincible you become. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger, wiser, and untouchable from the inside out. Stop caring, and the world's weapons become nothing more than distractions. Stop caring, and life's obstacles become your stepping stones. Stop caring, and suddenly you are unstoppable. Real freedom is not about money, cars, or status. It's about who you answer to, who you allow to dictate your life, and who holds the keys to your happiness. Most people are trapped in invisible cages built by the expectations and opinions of others. They wake up every day trying to please someone, trying to fit into someone else's idea of success, trying to live a life that isn't theirs. They sacrifice their dreams, their passions, their identity just to earn a nod of approval, a fleeting smile, a shallow compliment, and in doing so, they trade their freedom for chains. The chains aren't visible, but they are strong. They tighten with every eyes they give to someone else's rules and every no they fail to say to protect their own life. Real freedom comes the moment you stop giving a damn about approval. The moment you decide that the only approval that matters is your own. The cage dissolves. You reclaim your life, your energy, your decisions. You start living for yourself, not for the applause of others. Think about it. How much of your time, RGY, and effort have you wasted shaping yourself to fit what other people think you should be? How often have you said yes to things you hate just to avoid conflict or disappointment? How many times have you bent your morals, your standards, your heart just to earn a nod from someone who doesn't even know your worth? That's not living. That's survival. That's existing in the margins of your own life while others write the story for you. True freedom, the kind that shakes your soul awake, comes when you cut that cord. You stop letting their opinions steer you. You stop letting fear of judgment control your choices. You stop trading your authenticity for temporary acceptance, and suddenly you are untouchable. You move with a confidence that no one can undermine because it comes from inside you, not outside. When you live for yourself, every action, every choice, every decision is aligned with your truth. You no longer wake up to check if people like you. You no longer obsess over Kez comments or whispers behind your back. You no longer need validation to prove your worth because you know it in your own bones. That certainty is intoxicating. That certainty is power. And power, my friend, is freedom. When you stop living for others, your life stops being a constant balancing act. You stop dancing on a tightrope of expectations. You stop apologizing for being human, for being ambitious, for being bold, for being yourself. You walk straight, you speak clear, you act with purpose, and people take notice not because you begged for attention, but because you emanate strength. Freedom also comes from detachment from outcomes. When you live for yourself, you do what you love, what you believe in, what sets your heart on fire, regardless of whether anyone else agrees. You pursue your vision without needing permission, without fearing rejection, without waiting for someone else to validate your dreams. When you stop seeking approval, risk loses its edge and opportunity becomes boundless. You stop hesitating. You stop shrinking. You stop letting fear dictate your path. And that's when life begins to feel like life. Instead of a rehearsal for someone else's satisfaction, people will try to pull you back. They will criticize, judge, and try to shame you into conformity. They will remind you of their rules, their expectations, their definitions of success, their narrow minds. And you will have a choice to listen or to rise. If you continue to care about approval, their words will chain you. If you stop, their words will bounce off you like nothing at all. Living for yourself means being fearless in the face of judgment. It means being unapologetic in the pursuit of your own happiness. It means putting your energy where it belongs, on building your life, not on convincing anyone else that you deserve it. True freedom also comes with responsibility. The responsibility of knowing who you are, what you want, and what you will not compromise. It is not lazy. It is not selfishness. It is clarity. You cannot live a life of greatness if you are constantly distracted by the need to be liked. You cannot reach your full potential if your decisions are dictated by the fear of disapproval. You cannot stand tall if every step forward requires someone else's nod. But when you live for yourself, your vision becomes unstoppable. Your passion becomes uncontainable. Your confidence becomes magnetic, and your life becomes yours, fully, unapologetically, beautifully yours. At the end of the day, real freedom is living without chains, without fear, without the weight of someone else's opinion pressing on your chest. It's waking up every morning knowing that the only judgment that matters is your own. It's walking through life with fire in your soul, clarity in your mind, and peace in your heart. And the moment you embrace this, you realize something incredible. The world doesn't control you. Only you do. Your life is no longer borrowed. It's yours too. Live. To conquer, to define. Stop living for approval. Start living for yourself. And in that moment, you are truly free. Inner strength is not something that comes from pleasing others, from following the crowd, or from borrowing someone else's fights. It is forged in the fire of personal struggle, in the battles you choose to face, and in the discipline to fight only the ones that matter. Most people waste their lives fighting wars that aren't theirs, arguing over opinions, stressing about expectations, carrying the burdens of people who will never carry theirs. They exhaust themselves defending their honor in trivial matters, proving themselves to strangers and absorbing the energy of conflict that has nothing to do with their destiny. That is weakness disguised as effort. True strength is selective. True power is reserved for the wars that shape your soul, the struggles that refine your character, and the challenges that test your courage. Inner strength grows when you stop airing your energy on battles that don't belong to you and focus on the ones that do. Think about it. How much of your energy has been drained by arguments that meant nothing, by people who never had your best interest at heart, by causes that were never yours to carry? How many nights have you spent restless, replaying conflicts that served no purpose other than to feed someone else's ego? That is life on autopilot. Life wasted in the arena of distraction. But the moment you decide to fight only your own battles, clarity emerges. Your mind becomes sharper. Your focus becomes relentless. Your energy becomes unshakable. You no longer allow external noise to dictate your inner peace or your direction. The battles you choose are fought with purpose, with strategy, with precision, and that focus breeds strength that is impossible to ignore. Inner strength is born from responsibility, the responsibility to know which fights are yours and which are not. It is born from discipline, the disciple, to walk away from what is irrelevant, from what is destructive, from what is petty. It is born from courage, the courage to face yourself, your fears, and your limitations head on. When you stop meddling in conflicts that do not serve your growth, your energy shifts from reaction to creation. You become a force, not a follower. You become a leader, not a victim. You no longer get caught in the trap of trying to control the uncontrollable because you have learned that power lies in mastering yourself, not in wrestling the world into submission. Consider this. Every time you let someone else's drama consume you, you give them power over your life. Every time you fight their battles, you reinforce their importance in your story. Every time you react to criticism, gossip, or irrelevant conflict, you weaken your own resolve. But when you draw the line, when you protect your energy, when you fight only for your dreams, your principles, and your own growth, you grow strong. You become a person who can stand alone, unshaken by opinion, unbroken by adversity, untempted by distraction. That is the essence of inner strength. It is not visible like muscles or wealth, but it is unmistakable. People sense it. The world respects it, and it allows you to live life on your terms without compromise. Fighting your own battles also means facing the hardest opponent of all, yourself. The fears that paralyze you, the doubts that whisper in the dark, the excuses that hold you back. These are the real wars. These are the ones that define you, that test your resolve, that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. When you fight these battles with honesty, with persistence, and with ferocity, you discover a reservoir of strength you never imagined. You learn that nothing external can break you if you are unbreakable within. You learn that discipline and resilience are forged in solitude, in struggle, and in the relentless pursuit of your own truth. Most people avoid these battles. They run from them, hiding behind distraction, comfort, and the opinions of others. They scatter their energy, hoping someone else will fight for them or hoping the world will conform to their desires. And that is why they remain weak. But when you take ownership of your own battles, you take ownership of your life. You stop depending on luck, on validation, on external approval. You cultivate independence, resilience, and self-reliance, the truest forms of power. And the more you focus on your own battles, the sharper, stronger, and more unshakable you become. There is also a freedom in this focus. When you fight only your battles, the unnecessary